Hello and welcome to Bite Size History, History of the United Kingdom, brought to you by AI Cast. I'm your host Aidan. In this episode, we are going to explore the economic and trade networks that developed during the Wessex Culture period. Trade played a crucial role in the development of this prehistoric culture, both within Wessex itself and between Wessex and other regions. We will examine the types of goods that were traded, the routes that were used, and the impact of trade on the development of chiefdoms. To begin, let's look at the types of goods that were traded during the Wessex Culture period. The people of Wessex were skilled farmers and craftsmen who produced a variety of goods, including pottery, textiles, and metalwork. These goods were traded within Wessex itself, as well as with other regions both nearby and far away. One of the most important trade goods in the Wessex culture was copper. Copper was used to create a variety of tools and weapons, including axes, knives, and swords. The people of Wessex did not have access to natural sources of copper, so they had to trade for it with other regions. Copper was imported from as far away as Ireland and Cornwall, and its value helped to create a thriving trade network that extended beyond the borders of Wessex. In addition to copper, other important trade goods included pottery, textiles, and foodstuffs such as grain and salt. Pottery was particularly valuable, as it was often decorated with intricate designs and patterns that were highly prized by collectors. Textiles, too, were in high demand, as they could be used to create clothing, bedding, and other essential items. The routes that were used for trade during the Wessex Culture period were varied and complex. Trade goods were transported by land and sea, and there were many different routes that were used depending on the destination. Some goods were transported along rivers or overland routes, while others were transported by sea. One of the most important trade routes during the Wessex Culture period was the river trade route along the River Thames. This route was used to transport goods from Wessex to London, which was an important trading centre at the time. The river trade route was also used to transport goods from London to other regions, such as the Midlands and East Anglia. Another important trade route was the sea trade route between Wessex and Ireland. This route was used to transport copper from Ireland to Wessex, as well as other goods such as pottery and textiles. The sea trade route was also used to transport goods from Wessex to other regions around the British Isles and beyond. The impact of trade on the development of chiefdoms was significant. Trade allowed for the exchange of goods and ideas between different communities, which helped to foster cultural exchange and innovation. Trade also played an important role in the development of chiefdoms by providing a source of wealth and power. The people who controlled trade routes and trade goods were able to accumulate significant wealth and influence, which helped them to maintain their position of power within their communities. The economic and trade networks that developed during the Wessex Culture period were complex and far-reaching. Trade was an important source of wealth and power, and it helped to shape the social and economic landscape of this prehistoric culture. By examining the types of goods that were traded, the routes that were used, and the impact of trade on the development of chiefdoms, we can gain a deeper understanding of the economic and social developments that shaped human history during this fascinating period. Trade networks during the Wessex Culture period paved the way for the emergence of larger, more complex societies. As trade routes expanded, so too did the power and influence of chiefdoms, which were able to accumulate greater wealth and resources through trade. This, in turn, helped to create a more stable and centralized political system, which was able to support larger populations and create more complex social structures. Trade also facilitated cultural exchange and innovation during the Wessex Culture period. The exchange of goods and ideas between different communities helped to foster new technologies and cultural practices, which helped to shape the development of this prehistoric culture. For example, the exchange of copper from Ireland and Cornwall helped to create new technologies and tools, which allowed the people of Wessex to create more complex metalwork and other goods. It is also important to note that trade during the Wessex Culture period was not always peaceful. Conflict over trade routes and trade goods was common, and this could sometimes lead to violence and warfare. However, trade also provided a means for resolving conflicts and establishing diplomatic relations between different communities. In this way, trade helped to create a more interconnected and interdependent world, which paved the way for the emergence of larger, more complex societies in the future. In conclusion, the economic and trade networks that developed during the Wessex Culture period were a significant development in human history. Trade facilitated the exchange of goods and ideas between different communities, created new opportunities for wealth and power, and paved the way for the emergence of larger, more complex societies. By examining the types of goods that were traded, the routes that were used, and the impact of trade on the development of chiefdoms, we can gain a deeper understanding of the economic and social developments that shaped human history during this fascinating period. Thank you for listening. If you liked the show, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time on Bite Size History.